Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with a look at Saskatchewan's COVID-19 numbers. There are 19 new cases in the province, with none in the immediate Lloydminster area, where we have 8 active cases. Saskatchewan has 397 active cases, including 18 in the northwest, where we have no new cases. 57 people are in hospital, with 6 in our zone. More than 1.3 million doses have been administered province-wide, including over 79,000 in the northwest. At today's virtual Lloydminster Rotary meeting, they focused on the work the Rotary Foundation does around the community and the world. The Rotary Foundation provides grants and help with projects in communities in foreign countries, such as the kindergarten the Lloydminster Rotary Club funded in Honduras.
Great project. I just love the difference it's making. And you see the children and the teachers, and that's where the real impact is. That's where you're really making a huge difference in their lives and what their future is going to be.
They also highlighted how big an impact a few dollars donations can have on people who need those resources.
It doesn't take a lot to make a difference in the life of somebody in a developing country. $15 will actually do about 60 polio vaccines. $50 water filter can make a huge difference in some countries. There's so much disease in the water system.
They also touched on the district grants that have helped many organizations in the border city. It's time now for this week's retrospect. Here's Blake Nath.
This week in retrospect, we take a look back at the Colonial Days Fair in 1991.
The great weather has people whistling, snapping their fingers, and clapping at clouds, or just about anything else that's been a bother lately. It's midway time, and that means fatty foods, great prizes to be won, and of course, the ride.
So you're just in line now for the rides?
Yes.
Which one's he going on?
Ferris wheel, and depends what my daughter wants to go on.
Oh, she might get a little risky.
Might, yes.
You ready for that?
Well, we'll see. Only time will tell, I guess.
A brand new ride in this year's Colonial Days is a 60-foot Ferris wheel, and it just wouldn't be a midway ride without a view from the top.
And it doesn't matter if you prefer things that go bump or rides that go round. Colonial Days Midway is something that keeps you coming back.
And back in 96, new legislation in Saskatchewan is drafted to cut down on impaired drivers.
Have you been drinking anything at all tonight?
Drinking and driving in Saskatchewan is about to become tougher to get away with. Thanks to new legislation which takes effect August 1st, anyone caught with a blood alcohol level of 0.04 and over will face stiffer consequences, including the possibility of having to partake in an addictions program, a program the Lloydminster Health District will be responsible for providing.
Basically, there'll be screening and assessment for anybody who has picked up essentially 0.04 and over. And it'll depend on the category you fall in, whether you're a young driver, a new driver, anybody with past convictions, or seriousness of conviction.
Health officials are hoping to work on these programs in conjunction with the Slimthorpe Recovery Center.
Slimthorpe have a lot of resources on hand, trained personnel to provide these types of services. So we will be providing the funding to support the program, and they will provide the actual hands-on services of screening and assessment and education where required.
And that's all for this week in retrospect.
Retrospect is brought to you by Webb's Machinery. Find New Holland products at Webb's Machinery, your dealer in Vermilion, Vegreville, Lamont, Wainwright, St. Paul, and Consulate.
Now our Connor Chan will take a look at your weather forecast.
All right, thanks a lot, Jasmine. Looking at temperatures, still sitting around 25 degrees, so we are going to get gradually warmer throughout the week. We're going to see a mix of high pressure and some cloud coverage making its way through the prairies, as we are going to see temperatures climb to the 30-degree range, as we're going to see fairly warm temperatures in the midweek and the weekend as well, which could institute for another heat warning potentially down the road here. So looking at other temperatures, we're still sitting those high 20s right now for most of us here, with 26 in Vermilion, Vegreville, and Wainwright, 27 up in the Bonnyville, St. Paul areas, 27 also out in Edmonton, 28 degrees in Macklin right now, with 26 also in the Maidstone and North Battleford areas. A lot of that high pressure making its way down into the parts of southern Alberta, as well as parts further east, southeast into Saskatchewan. We could see lots of cloud coverage as well on top of that sun for us here in Lloydminster, probably around Wednesday, Thursday, but then we should start to see things clear up by the weekend with lots of that sun in those 30-degree ranges. We are going to drop quite a bit here as we take a look here at overnight temperatures in North Battleford, 8 degrees, so it drops quite substantially here with cloud coverage at best overnight, and then go up to 29 degrees for tomorrow as we see that sun and cloud mixture coming back. 13 overnight in Cold Lake, and then 28 for the daytime high in Cold Lake for them tomorrow. And then for us here in Lloydminster, we do drop as well quite a bit at 12 degrees overnight, so a little bit chillier into the evening, and then 27 will be our daytime high for tomorrow. Now looking ahead to those next couple of days, I did mention midweek we're starting to get the 30s, so starting on Wednesday we could see temperatures get to that 32-degree mark, and lots of cloud coverage for Wednesday. Then a little bit of sun coming back on Thursday with that high of 32 degrees. We could see as high as 35 later this week at some point, as temperatures could change a little bit throughout the coming days or so. So be ready for another heat-filled week as we welcome back those 30-degree days. That is a look at your weather forecast for now. We'll have more primetime local news after the break.
Welcome back. The 9th annual Alberta Open Farm Days will be taking place August 14th and 15th on farms across the province. The event aims to give consumers a behind-the-scenes look at how their food is produced. A farm north of Vermilion is preparing to welcome guests to their family farm. Jillian Code has more.
For the second year in a row, Chatsworth Farm will be welcoming guests to their farm as part of Alberta Open Farm Days. The event is an opportunity for both rural and urban people alike to learn something new about agriculture.
So we're going to be exploring all of the animals, the cattle, the sheep, the poultry, the horses, all of that. And they get to ask questions, just learn about products that come from the animals, touch sheep's wool, or look at incubators, or touch a day-old baby chick.
Guided tours will take place throughout the day, and guests will be able to learn about many aspects of agriculture.
They get to explore machinery demonstrations. We have some artisan pop-up shops, and we also have the garden to explore and a few other exciting treats.
Registration is required, and Wasilic recommends coming prepared with farm clothes and closed-toed shoes. Guests of all ages are encouraged to attend and abide by the farm's safety measures.
While we love animals, we ask that you keep yours at home just for the safety of our animals and our visitors. And then we do have a lot of COVID safety precautions in place so everyone can feel safe and enjoy their day while they're here.
Registration for the Open Farm events opens on Monday, July 12th, with the event taking place on August the 14th. Guests can either register at chatsworthfarm.ca or on their social media accounts. Jillian Code, Primetime Local News.
Now we'll take a look at your egg prices.
All right, thanks very much, Jasmine. As we take a look at temperatures, still sitting around those mid-20s, mid to high 20s, and we're going to get a little bit warmer as the week goes on, as we see that high pressure system is going to make its way through the prairies, through Alberta and Saskatchewan, and we're going to see a little bit more cloud coverage as well in the early parts of the week, and then we're going to get back to seeing lots of clear skies throughout the weekend here. We're probably going to be back into a heat warning most likely at some point this week, as we are expected to see temperatures as high as 35 degrees later on into the week. But looking right now, 26 for us in Lloydminster, as well as in Edson, Edmonton, Whitecourt, 29 degrees in Jasper, with 27 in Athabasca right now. Moving over into Saskatchewan, also fairly warm for the most part, as we see 28 in Saskatoon, 26 degrees across in Meadow Lake, Prince Albert, and in Melfort, and 27 for North Battleford. Now moving up to the northern Saskatchewan areas, as we see there, at 24 in La Loche and Buffalo Narrows. Laurent sitting at 17 degrees, 19 up in Wolston Lake, and then 15 for Uranium City, with 24 for the Flin Flon area. Looking up to the northern Alberta side, we're still seeing those mid-20s as well, with cooler temperatures in Fort McMurray sitting at 18 degrees, 25 for Slave Lake, with 28 down in Grand Prairie there, and then 23 for High Level right now. So again, pretty warm for the most part, as we continue to see temperatures start to climb throughout the week throughout most of the Alberta and Saskatchewan. 29 in Lethbridge, 30 in Medicine Hat right now, with 25 in Calgary and 26 degrees in Banff. A lot of that area is due to the fact that the high pressure is hovering around those parts of southern Alberta as well. Looking over into southern Saskatchewan, 26 is across the board here, as we see that in Swift Current, Moose Jaw, and Regina. 27 degrees also in Kindersley. Looking across the country, we do see a lot of cloud coverage, mostly out east as we take a look here. Winnipeg sitting at 28 degrees right now, 25 in Quebec City, 24 for Toronto, as we look to 17 in St. John's, and 22 in Halifax. So they're back on track. They were a little off the rails a little bit last week, as we did see some temperatures in the single digits in the Newfoundland areas. We did see lots of rain and some cloud coverage throughout that week. Vancouver sitting around 22 degrees right now with that sun and clouds, and then 24 all the way up in Yellowknife. As we look ahead to tomorrow, it's going to gradually, like I said, start getting a little warmer as we get into later parts of the week. But 27 is what we're expected for us here in Lloydminster tomorrow. 28 in Vermilion, Wainwright, Provost, and Vegreville as well. 29 up in Bonnyville and Edmonton for tomorrow. Macklin and North Battleford also seeing around that 29 degree areas there, as we see that in Macklin and North Battleford. 27s, we'll see those in Meadow Lake and in Isle of Cross for tomorrow. Now looking ahead to the next 7 days, there is that chance, like I said, we could see 35 degrees get as high as that on Thursday. 31 though for Wednesday. We'll see that cloud coverage hovering over for us throughout parts of the week here. And then going into Saturday, Sunday, we'll see those temperatures back in the 30s once again, and 30 and 32 will be pretty consistent throughout those later parts of the week and early into next week as well, as we're getting well above our averages for our the month of July, which is 23, and above our average lows as well, which is normally 11. So we're staying above that average mark, and we're getting that heat as we are getting for the month of July. That's a look at your weather for now. We'll have more primetime local news after the break.
Well, Sunday night saw day one of the North American Chuck Wagon Championship. Joining me today to break this down is Greg Buchanan. Greg, thank you for taking this time and joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me tonight there, Evan.
Now, Greg, obviously, huge event here coming for Lloyd. I guess just first things first, take me through overall your thoughts on the opening night.
There was, before the races even started, you go behind the barns. I did my interviews for the CKSA radio network, and there was a vibe out there that it's really hard to describe. And I guess there's going to be comparisons through all this to the Calgary Stampede, and you get that same feeling that opening night, the Calgary Stampede. There's excitement, there's nervous, there's all that different forms of energy around the barn, and you felt that from the drivers to the outriders to people from the CKSA to the fans and the sponsors. So it was great to see. We've been talking about this for a very long time. This show has been talked about for a number of years, and it was just a matter of putting everything into motion, and motion happened about 6 weeks ago. So keep in mind, there was not much in the planning. There was, preliminary work done, but the majority of the work happened 6 weeks ago to get ready for now. So 6 weeks went by in a hurry, and now 9 days will go by in a hurry, and a great way to kick things off last night.
And Greg, obviously behind the scenes, there was work being done, but, for these drivers, you could see on the track the work that they had already been putting in, just starting things off with the mentor heat. Cale Lajeunesse really got things started for the whole night. Just talk to me about, these two heats and what you saw from these mentor heats.
Well, I think one thing that's happened in good or bad, and there hasn't been a lot that's come good through COVID, but last summer there was no racing. So there was a lot of, as we call it, fun runs in the sport. And fun runs are across First Nations communities across Saskatchewan. And it gave an opportunity for a lot of these young drivers to get in the wagon box and give it a try. And they had a lot of races that last summer. And that gave a great opportunity for those 6 drivers you're seeing in those mentorship heats, get some experience. And now you see that they've already had a summer of racing under their belt, not CPCA tour racing, but getting comfortable in the wagon box with the lines, getting comfortable with the horses. And you saw that Cale Lajeunesse is a former, well, he still is an outrider as well as a driver, buys the barn of Gary Gorse. And Gary Gorse is a legendary driver, former CPCA driver, competed the Calgary Stampede. And he, at the age of 65, he was planned to sell out all his horses at the Calgary Stampede last summer, but there was no Stampede. So Cale gives him a phone call, buys all his horses, and now he is right into it as a chuck wagon driver.
Well, and, just like you mentioned, drawing comparisons to the Calgary Stampede, the Stampede, that's one thing that a lot of these rookie drivers would not be able to participate in. So these mentor heats, these rookies are competing for a spot in next year's championship. And I think you can agree with this, Greg. I mean, that's just huge for the sport in general, and, building and adding more and more drivers to the sport.
And that's what you want, not a slight against the Calgary Stampede. We could debate this all the time, where the Stampede's feelings are about chuck wagon racing, but we are looking at the sport here. We are looking at building the sport. And we're going to talk about the heritage heat in a moment. So we're looking at the present with those 36 drivers. We're looking at the future with the mentorship heat, and we're looking at the past with the heritage heat. So we're covering all bases here. And it's thrilling for a lot of the chuck wagon fans to see it all come together nightly at the North American Chuck Wagon Championship.
Well, and you bring up the heritage heat there. Let's just jump into this now. Greg, you mentioned that it's the past of the sport. It didn't really look like it on Sunday night there. Brian Labakane and Ray Mitzwing were absolutely tearing up that track. And I think, Greg, as somebody who's followed the sport for a long time, this must have been pretty cool to see, both these guys duking it out once again on the track.
See, Ray retired in 2019. Brian retired 7-8 years ago. So yeah, Brian's in his early 70s, Ray's 66 now. But you know what? It's only a number. And once they get in that the wagon box, get the lines in them, they're ready to go, and they want to win. That's just their juice. So that's their DNA. Brian Labakane won 6 Canadian championships. Ray won 7. And you don't win that many championships without having that winning pedigree. And they want to, doesn't matter if they're playing cribbage or they're playing chuck wagon racing. Ryan wants to beat Brian, and Brian wants to beat Ray. So it's great to see. And the other thing is they had the 4 outriders, and you saw some older outriders, and they always say in outriding, you have one good jump left in you. And it proved a lot of those old boys had one good jump left in them.
For anybody who was not able to get out Sunday night and check that out, there will be a heritage heat once again on Championship Monday. So definitely an exciting one. I do recommend going and seeing. Now, Greg, just going through the day, top 4 drivers are Todd Baptiste, Dallas Dick, Jamie Labakane, and Robbie Ethier. Top 4 times. Now, I've heard this being said, passed around a little bit. This race is not a sprint. It's more of a marathon. So with that being said, Bucky, what can these 4 drivers do to really secure their spot and keep those top 4 positions?
There's something to be said in the sport is staying clean. It's one thing about being fast, but you don't need penalties. You don't need barrels going down. The first 3 or 4 days are very huge. They set the table for the rest of the week. If you're gonna have bad runs, have them the first 2 nights, because at least you're gonna have some nights to make up for it. So if you have a good nut run like those 5 drivers did on that first night, now you want to add to it here tonight. And I think more than anything that those 2 words we talked about on Friday when we last talked is barn management. So now you had a good run with the 4 that you had hooked last night. Let's try to do it again here tonight. And if you didn't have a good run last night, here's a chance for bounce back for some of those other drivers.
Well, Bucky, it should be exciting. One whole more week of the North American Chuck Wagon Championship is just ahead of us here. So like I said, should be exciting. Thank you very much for taking this time and joining me, Greg.
Thanks, Evan.